Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dig into a tension that I think is pretty universal. It's that gap, right? The one between knowing the right thing to do and actually doing it. We're going to explore what it really takes to move from just hearing a call to taking that real, meaningful action.
So let me just ask you this, right out of the gate. Have you ever felt that clear nudge? A conviction, a little voice, a sense that you should really do something specific, only to hesitate? You think about it, you might even agree with it, but then nothing. The moment just passes, it's a feeling we all know, and it's exactly what we're talking about today.
The Bible is so direct about this. James gives this really sober warning, saying that hearing without doing is basically a form of self-deception. It's so easy to feel spiritual just because we went to a service or read a chapter. But the real test, the point where faith really becomes tangible, is in what we do next.
And this visualizes the problem perfectly. See, on one side, you've got hearing. That's where we get revelation, we sense God's calling, we have all these good intentions. And way over on the other side is transformation. That's the fruitfulness, the real change. So what's the bridge that connects the two? It's one word: obedience.
So first up, we're going to tackle this hearing versus doing gap, and really unpack why action isn't just a good idea, it's the essential component of a living faith.
And to really bring this to life, we're going to dive into a case study from the book of Acts. It's the story of this ordinary man, Ananias, whose simple yes had absolutely world-changing consequences. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture it. You're in Damascus. The number one threat to your life as a follower of Jesus is a man named Saul. And listen, he isn't just someone who disagrees with Christians. He is actively hunting them down. He is feared. He is dangerous. Now, also living in the city is a disciple named Ananias, just a regular guy. And it's into this incredibly tense situation that God speaks to him in a vision.
Can you just imagine that for a second? In the middle of your day, you hear your name called by the Lord himself. The story doesn't waste any time, it just cuts right to it. God has a message, and he is calling Ananias by name.
And this response, wow, it's the starting point for all obedience. Before he even knows what God is going to ask, before he has any idea of the cost or the risk, Ananias' posture is just one of total availability. Yes, Lord. He's ready, he's listening. And that simple response opens the door for everything that happens next.
And then the instruction drops. Go to Saul. Just let that sink in. This isn't just uncomfortable. This is terrifying. This is like God asking you to walk straight into the lion's den to deliver a message. God's instruction goes directly against Ananias' deepest, most logical fears.
Now, I love this part, because Ananias is so incredibly honest. He doesn't pretend to be some kind of superhero. He takes his fear right to God. He basically says, Lord, are you sure about this? I know who this guy is. I've heard the reports. He brings his real, raw hesitation right into the conversation.
And this brings Ananias to a critical moment. It's a crossroads. He has to weigh what he's heard about Saul from other people, his reputation, against what he has just heard directly from God. He has to choose which voice he's going to trust.
After God reaffirms the plan, the Bible gives us this simple but incredibly profound sentence: "Then Ananias went." That's it. The debate is over, the decision is made. He moves from hearing to doing, and in doing so, he sets in motion this powerful chain of events.
And that one single act of obedience, it started a ripple effect that we are still feeling today. So next, let's look at how that one yes literally changed the course of history. The immediate impact is just stunning. Through Ananias' obedience, Saul physically gets his sight back. But the change is so much deeper. He's filled with the Holy Spirit, he gets baptized, and maybe most powerfully, Ananias calls him Brother Saul. The enemy has become family. This is instant, radical transformation.
Okay, now let's zoom out. Because Ananias said yes, Saul becomes the Apostle Paul. And because of Paul, the gospel just explodes into the non-Jewish world. Churches get planted all across the Roman Empire, and he ends up writing a huge chunk of the New Testament. Ananias couldn't have known any of this would happen. He just took the next right step.
Now, this story is incredibly inspiring, but it's also meant to teach us something. So how do we go from being inspired by Ananias to actually, being like him? This section is all about the practical stuff. 3 steps to action that help us build a whole lifestyle of obedience.
All right, let's start with a really challenging idea.
Delayed obedience is disobedience. Oof. It's so easy to tell ourselves, I'll get to it later, right? But this concept just cuts through all our excuses. God's invitations, they often come with this sense of now.
So, step 1 is to just embrace the small acts. See, obedience isn't usually one single, dramatic, Ananias-level moment. It's a muscle that we build in the small, everyday choices. Things like apologizing when it's hard, forgiving when you really don't feel like it, turning off that show, giving when it stretches you. These are the training grounds where our hearts get shaped for obedience.
Step 2 is anchored right here, in this incredible promise from Proverbs. We have to trust God's plan, especially when it's uncomfortable. So much of our hesitation comes from us trying to lean on our own understanding. We think we see all the risks, all the reasons it won't work. But obedience means we have to submit our limited view to His infinite wisdom and trust that He's the one who will make our path straight.
And that leads us perfectly to step 3. Just take the next right step. Ananias wasn't shown the blueprint for how the early church was going to expand across the globe. Nope. He was just told to go to a specific house on a specific street. God gives us enough light for the step right in front of us. Our job is simply to take it.
Okay, so finally, let's bring this all home. Let's make it personal. We've heard Ananias' story. Now it's time to think about your own next right thing.
I want you to just sit with this for a moment. Seriously, forget the 5-year plan for a second. Right now, in this season, what is the next right thing God is asking you to do? Is it a conversation you need to have, a habit you know you need to break, a person you need to forgive? What is that one step?
And we'll end on this powerful thought. We may never see the full impact of our obedience on this side of eternity. We're a lot like Ananias. We take our small step, and then we often just step off the stage. But one day, we're going to see how every single one of those small, quiet, faithful yeses was woven into the massive, beautiful story of what God is doing in the world. Your obedience matters more than you could possibly know.